You're listening to episode 56 of the Comm Cafe. This episode is called Pivoting. Andrea Ivanka stopped by the Comm Cafe, and this is our conversation. We cover a couple of different things. Hey, sometimes you even need to pivot when you're doing what you love to do. And she shared with us her 7-step process that she calls the Success Achievement Wheel. Now, sit back and enjoy my conversation with Andrea Ivanka. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the Comm Cafe. I'm your host, Dwayne Richards. Today, yet another great day. And this is a place for entrepreneurs, small business owners, mindset, personal development, professional development, and amazing and fantastic guests. None other than today's guest. It is Andrea Ivanka. She is an achievement coach, international speaker, author, and we're going to be talking something a little different today because she's actually, it's really cool because when you go, if you're in this spot where, hey, you're doing what you love to do, you're doing your dream, but maybe you need to pivot just a little. And guess what? It's okay. It's your business. So Andrea's on the Comm Cafe today. She's going to share a little bit about her recent experiences and how she's shifting business just a little, shifting gears just a little and aligning with the bigger purpose. So, hey, welcome to the Comm Cafe.
Oh my goodness, that was awesome, Dwayne. Thank you so much. I am really looking forward to this conversation and having some fun talking about pivots.
Pivot. And of course, we're going to talk about how you work with your clients, an achievement coach. Wow, like who wouldn't want to achieve amazing things? So up front, we're going to touch on what is an achievement coach, who you're working with, and some of the results that your clients are getting or have been getting in the last 2-3 years, and the wheel. I forget what you call that wheel, but the wheel that you use, and there's the 5 components of the wheel, plus the hub, plus a little bit of magic energy to make the wheel spin. So, all right. Now we kind of did the dance a little bit. We saw each other at events, and then only until recently we're like, both of our energies are, I'll be honest, my energy is completely different. Yours is, and now it's like, let's just get together and do a podcast.
I know. It's just, I think sometimes when things are aligned, they just click, and it's so much easier because you never know, somebody that you've met a year ago, 2 years ago, all of a sudden there's things align, they click, and here we are. So thank you. I'm super excited.
Yeah, let's have fun. It's all about having a purpose. All right.
So where did you want me to start? Because there was a whole bunch. You were like, we're going to do this and this and this.
Well, there's a good chunk of stuff. Pivoting. Let's get into that because that could be a big step because you've done a lot of work. You were an international speaker. You're doing a lot of work with some mentors and some coaches. Mm-hmm. You had this direction about being like selling from stage and doing this kind of work. And then you're like,
not quite lining up with who I feel is the authentic me. It's really interesting because the last couple of years, things have been going well. I mean, for most people in the coaching industry, it takes quite a while to build yourself up. But I think because I've been doing personal development for so long, within 2 years in my business, I had done over 6 figures in sales. My clients were really happy, but I was feeling like something just did not feel very good. I was doing things, I mean, I'm very coachable. I was doing things the way I was told and having some pretty good results, but there was just this aspect that felt like I was not being genuine and authentic in how I was showing up in the world. And all of a sudden it felt like, okay, things are going really well, but I was starting to feel stuck. Or like I was throwing spaghetti on a wall with my business. And it was such an interesting place to be in because I'm going, okay, all of this works. I should be doing it, but I don't want to do it anymore. So really, really interesting place to be in mentally, financially, emotionally, as a business owner to go, this is working, but I don't want to do it. So that's where the pivot really started.
And good for you to take that, to kind of put it in, not in park, but to pause for a minute and just do an assessment. Because I think a lot of coaches will continue going down that route. And then and then all of a sudden it starts to impact the business because now they truly aren't authentic, and then it's hard to make the correction after you've gone a long time before you've become aware that there's a disconnect. So
yeah. Well, one of the things that was really interesting is because I've been working with clients individually and in groups, they were watching their businesses grow by leaps and bounds because we were doing a lot of work on the back end, on their mindset, on how they were showing up in the world, on how confident they were. But most of our marketing had to do around being a sales and marketing coach. And I had to step back, and our whole website's getting redone as we speak. It was all about sales and marketing. And I went, okay, yes, people's sales go up. Yes, their businesses grow. But I almost felt like I was in the closet where all of this personal work that I was doing with people, I wasn't talking about it with anybody. And yet, if you talk to any of my clients, 100% of the time they'd say what made the biggest impact on their business and on their life was the deep kind of breakthrough work that we'd be doing one-on-one. So I realized I couldn't keep hiding behind having this, what's acceptable from a marketing and branding perspective of be the sales and marketing coach. So it took some soul searching to say, okay, here's who I am, here's my voice, right?
Yeah, but I think that's where the story is, right? Because like your client successes in sales were a result of the foundation work. And the risk is that if you always just focus on say, hey, we're these amazing sales trainers, that eventually you find the people that don't do the foundation work, or the sales dry up because they haven't done the foundation work. So it's going back to say, what is it that you're doing the same thing. It's just, hey, by the way, we actually start with this, and therefore our clients get here even better.
And yeah, that's exactly it, right? It's just being more open and really owning the process, right? And I think most coaches and people in the service industry will go through this, where after you've been doing things for a few years and serving clients for a few years, you really will start to find what it is that's unique about you and your process. You don't really get that out of the gate in your first 3 months or 6 months. I mean, you're still finding yourself as a business owner. It's not until about a year or two in, or when you've hit, let's say, past your first 100K, where you start to find really who you are, because you've got that experience behind you. And so that was definitely one of the things that I found. I was thinking, my goodness, it's actually my experience that's helped me to figure out who I am as well, which was a really interesting process that I think a lot of people don't talk about. It's just put your program out there, get your system out there. It's actually, you're going to discover your program and your system as you work with people. That's how you grow into who you are, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's jump into a little bit, because I touched on at the beginning the wheel. So there's there's 5 spokes, and because again, this is what you've developed, and this is a tool that you use with your clients.
It is,
and you've been using it. So it's not something brand new. You've been using it in the last 2 years, and this is one of the tools that's adding to their success.
Yeah.
So what are the five spokes, I think?
Yeah. So I call this the success achievement wheel, right? Very simple to remember. Mm-hmm. And definitely, I think we developed it about 4 years ago, started using it one-on-one with clients, and then now introducing it to groups now that there's been some consistent success with my clients using it. So here's what it is. And I like to say with all of the tools I use with my clients is take this like cooking instead of baking. So with cooking, you can put some ingredients together. You can get a really nice flavor. You can mix things up a little bit. If you don't really like something, you can add a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Versus baking, it's got to be exactly this way or it doesn't blow up and your cake falls flat. So take this like cooking. Use what works for you. If something I say here resonates, then use it. Add it to whatever you're already doing that works. Cool?
I like that because, and I've heard that either from you, I've heard that from someone else too, that there's, baking is a science, cooking is an art.
Is an art, yeah. So I've got to say, realistically, growing as a human being is more like an art than it really is a science, right? And I don't have a big microwave that I can throw you into and you'll pop out fully formed. Okay, so here's the success and achievement wheel, and I'd like to say, imagine this as if your life was this wheel. And so each of the spokes helps to have the wheel turning more smoothly. So either way, the wheel's going to turn. It's just how smooth or how bumpy is the ride, depending on how strongly developed your spokes are. Are they even there? Are they missing, right? So the first spoke is mindset. This is where you have all of your beliefs running, your unconscious patterns, things that either help you or hinder you. This is where you might have things like beliefs that used to serve you, but now you've outgrown. And I say this one a little tongue-in-cheek, but it makes people laugh to illustrate the point, is beliefs are easy to change. Once upon a time, I used to believe in Santa Claus. I don't anymore. And when I realized that Santa didn't exist, it's not like I hemmed and hawed for months and years. I was like, okay, Santa does not exist. My belief shifted, a whole new paradigm entered. And in order for all of the rest of the spokes, the rest of the wheel to move properly, we've got to start with mindset, beliefs, those things that are actually stopping us from having the whole thing moving forward. The second spoke is aligned action. And aligned action is really where things like strategy come into place. Are you doing the kind of things that are going to move you forward based on what you've said is your vision for life? And I really make the distinction here about the action being aligned, right? There's taking action just to take action because you're being busy, or just, a lot of us grew up on be hungry, take action, which was great, except when you're doing it and it's going in the opposite direction of where you want to go. So I say the second spoke is about aligned action and strategy. The third one is about your unique contribution to the world. And this is the area where skills come into place. So for example, now having been in business for a few years and having done, oh my God, I can't even tell you how many different kinds of certifications, I've gotten a lot more skills and tools in my tool belt because I'm so committed to people getting their breakthroughs. And that's part of my unique contribution to the world. I know I do this well. But if somebody does not know what they do well, or they haven't yet taken the time to continually develop their skills, that spoke might be a little wobbly. So you take a look and you go, okay, here is who I'm being in the world. Here's how I show up. Here's my skill set to back it up. There's one that's missing. Okay, let me get it. And that's the amazing part about skills, is they're learnable. And that's fascinating. The fourth spoke now is your support. So support and systems. And when I talk about support, this might be literally from people in your life, but it might also be things like making sure you have, in a business, accounting software that is going to support all of these actions you're doing as you're showing up in the world with your skills, right? You need some kind of a foundation and support structure there. And then the last spoke is accountability. And I find this one is so important because, especially for entrepreneurs, it's really easy to get into that place where nobody really knows what's going on with us. And when things are a little less than perfect, we like to hide. The reality is we are simultaneously having amazing things happen while we have some challenges. It's not like, oh, everything's really good and now it's really bad. This is called growth, right? It wiggles and it wobbles up. And I like to share the example where I just started working with a health coach because as I've gotten older, my body has changed. And there are certain things that I just don't understand about how this whole darn thing works. And she did a cleanse with me in December just to help reset my system. And there was this one day where I went out for lunch with a potential client, and the food was not really all that great. And I was running errands for my grandmother, and I got to Shoppers Drug Mart, and I was so hungry. I mean, I could have probably gnawed my arm off. And I'm walking around, and I'm looking at all the food in the store, and I'm going, oh my God, I cannot eat any of this. And I think I was day 5 into this cleanse. But knowing that I had the coach there to back me up, I was sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, am I really going to tell her that I gave up on day 4, day 5, whatever it was? And just knowing I had that extra accountability, I found some nuts that I could eat that didn't have anything added. I found a solution, but I felt so proud of myself. And then talking to her, that extra accountability, it just helped me get over that hump. So that's the fifth one. And I like to share personal things so people go, I'm a real human being, right?
It's so true though. And what happens is when we take that extra work to do things healthier, and this is not me saying it's common. Healthier is not convenient. Like we're so easy, like fast food and everything is so convenient that's not good for us. But when we're actually not trying, when we're actually being better for our bodies, and we're busy in our businesses, to say,
Yep.
well, like, you really have to put back into the planning and the scheduling and okay, like, pack a lunch when you're going somewhere, or make some snacks in the car so that if something were to,
Yeah.
you have
Absolutely. Absolutely. It takes effort, right? I'm really conscious of my languaging. I never say things are hard work anymore because then unconsciously I don't want to do it. But when I say something's worth the effort, then I feel really proud of myself when I've done it. And I find just these little simple languaging shifts when we're talking to ourselves really make a big difference. So
Yeah.
no.
I caught myself earlier today I was saying something about, and then I'm like, wow, I shouldn't use those words. Actually, I said that. Honestly, what I said is that I said, no one wants to hear what I have to say, and I'm like, wow, that's not very good.
Yeah. Well, good thing that you caught yourself, right? That's what's important.
And I was kind of trying to prove a point about why I bring on guests, because I bring on guests that then we can have a conversation as opposed to just me talking about the subject. It's more powerful having a guest, and you can have having a conversation as opposed to just me lecturing. I find it much more powerful.
Yeah.
All right.
The center.
The center. Yeah. We got 2 more to go. And then I'll ask you my question. I'm making some notes, so I'm going to ask you my question. So,
okay.
The center, the hub, the axle of
the hub. And this probably won't be what most people think, because it's something entirely within your control. Some of the other spokes require other people, they require some effort, but the center spoke, that center hub, is really about your positive emotions, and ultimately that leads to your vibration. What that does is it, from a very, I'm going to say, logical, scientific level, it affects your body language, how you come across to people, right? I can be doing all of these things in my business and in my life and be miserable. People are not going to want to be around me for very long. And I'm talking about those lingering negative emotions, not like I got temporarily upset and then I got past it. And so that center spoke, keeping yourself in that positive place as much as possible, is what really holds it all together, right? It's almost like it lightens the whole thing instead of it feeling heavy. Last one? Want me to tell you the last one?
The last one, the
outside force.
The outside force, the secret force.
Yeah, this is really the secret that keeps the wheel moving. And I love it because it's something outside of you that does not require your effort, or really, it's something, like I said, outside of you. And if you think about a wheel moving, when you put an outside force on it, it moves a lot faster, a lot easier than if you're trying to move it from a standstill. And I take a look at that outside force as being source energy, the universe. If you don't believe in that, your higher aspect of yourself that really is connected to things. And I've said this before, and I said this to you earlier, is there is no humanly possible way that I could control every single little synchronicity, every little thing that needs to happen for my life to be successful. I mean, just the other day I had a workshop called Money, Manifesting, and Magic, and somebody texted me that they had ended up one building over. So I opened the door to say, hey, come here, because the door to the party room literally opens to outside. And I saw my cousin walking by. I have not seen her in 3 or 4 years. We were supposed to get together the weekend before. We were both sick. And literally in that split second, as I opened that door, she was going to a party in my building. And I just go, there is no human way possible that I could have coordinated that kind of synchronicity, that he would show up at just a little bit at the wrong place, that I would open the door at that time to see this person that I absolutely adore right in that split moment. I mean, there's just no way. So that was really, really cool.
Okay. That is, and you just have to say that's just the universe. That's the energy.
Yep.
Right. All good. Hey, now I know one of the things you work with your clients about goal setting and doing goal setting in kind of different ways and really putting that emotional piece into it. Now, I don't want to get into that too much today because we'll save that we don't give all your stuff away today. But I started doing this personally at the beginning of this year in January when I set my own personal goals. And I made this big thing about big list of kind of different habits. Like some habits I want to take out and new habits I want to add. So like reading every day. And then the other one was just simply, it's pretty simple. The kitchen sink doesn't have anything in it at the end of the day. So when I go to bed, there's nothing, like there's no, like there may be one cup, but there's no like frying pan, there's no like pot full of like gooey stuff left in the sink. Sounds pretty simple. Now because here's how about building habits. So what I was using was, it's called streaking. It's not like me getting naked and running down the hallway. It's consecutive days and building on that consecutive day and tracking it and actually making myself accountable to say, I am now on day 31. It's the 31st of January today. So for 31 days, the kitchen has been clean.
Awesome.
The reason it's very effective is that, and I have a colleague doing this example, she's doing like days of gratitude and she's on like day 1,000. You know, people are baseball fans. Cal Ripken Jr. was the Iron Man. Like he played, I forget, it was like 10, 15 years without taking a day off.
Yep.
I'm sure there was days that he's like, do I really, I love playing baseball, but do I really, but you don't want to break the streak because you got to start all over again. Is that something that have you heard of that? Have you used it? You use it?
Yeah, I have heard of that. And it works really effectively for things that you were mentioning, like the kitchen sink. If I was to guess, and you'd probably be able to tell me better than me mind reading, is that small task actually plays into something that's a bigger vision of who are you being as a person? What does that clean place represent for you? And so when we've got this bigger vision and then we take these smaller habits that are actually those actionable day-to-day tasks and steps, when it's tied into something bigger, it makes it so much easier to do something like that kind of streaking. Because if it was just about, okay, I have to clean the sink, maybe at some point you might go, oh, okay, but that's where that habit and the streaking will get you over that little bit of hump. So I find when you take the habit, tie it into the bigger vision of what it is that's really important to you, it's extremely effective.
Yeah,
so.
And it really, it all comes back to like the fact that when you wake up in the morning, because what happens is it can compound. You're like, okay, I'm going to put that. And it's not about, it can be about procrastination, but it's not about really, it's just saying, well, what is it that you don't like to do? And just, we call it procrastination, but this just allows me, because then when I wake up in the morning, it compounds if you don't, things like that compound, and then it's really not fun doing like a big project. Or if I want to make something in the morning for breakfast and all of a sudden the pot's dirty, I'm like, well, I got to wash it anyway. Like it's so easy to just make that one little adjustment on a daily basis.
Here's what's really interesting with something like that is you start to trust yourself more unconsciously. And so then if you've got a bigger goal and now you already have a habit that you've seen that you can follow through on, and now you set something bigger for yourself, all of a sudden you go, okay, I could do this. I had a client where he was not following through on stuff. And so we made a game. And the game was, he had to go, it might sound really silly, but it was specifically building a habit, was he had to go check the mailbox every day. Mm-hmm. And so for the first week, it was at a certain time. So he got really good at that. Then in the second week, it was, okay, it's got to be within this time frame in the morning. Because if he knew it was exactly at a specific time in the first week, he'd go. But all of a sudden, now we were stretching the neurology, the habit to, okay, well, what if something comes up? You've still got to do it within this time frame. And so by the time we were at the end of the fourth week, it was just he had to check the mail every day. And so we were throwing in little curveballs like, you've got to make sure you do it as soon as you get home from work, and it's got to be before 5:30 p.m. So the more he actually did that, the more he built the habit of trusting himself. And what came out of it, seemingly completely unrelated, was he had the courage to go apply for a position that before he wouldn't have thought that he had the skills to do. But because now he saw himself that he was responsible and could follow through, he got the position. Him and his wife moved to a different city, bought a new house. I mean, and it was from a small habit shift. So it's very powerful.
Yeah. And then the other one was just reading. So again, I kept saying, like, I'm not, I used to not read at all. And then I said, I'm not a fast reader, but then by blocking out 30 to 45 minutes every morning, I've already read, I'm on my third book already this year. So
that's awesome.
In 30 days, I've already read like 2.5 books.
That's amazing.
And it's just about chunking it down to say, okay, just like an elephant, one bite at a time. So like one chapter a day, and 10 days you've read a book.
Yeah.
So those are just quick tips for people that are listening, and you kind of figure out how do I go about adjusting habits. All right, now I think I'll ask you this. Hopefully you're okay with this. I'm going to catch you a little off guard, though.
All right, let's hear it.
What's it like running workshops with your mom?
So we actually just
started, because I know you did this workshop.
Just did one.
Yeah. So what was that like?
So here's really interesting. My mom has been a really big support the last few years. She would always show up, not always, but most of the time she was there, back of the room support. And I remember this was part of what created this whole pivot as well. Somebody said to me, "You can't tell people that's your mom. That's not professional." And I was like, "What do you mean I can't tell?" I know. I was like, "What do you mean I can't tell people that's my mom?" Like, she's completely qualified in her own right as a human being. So that was really interesting. But what was really cool about the workshop that we ran together on the weekend, which I think worked really, really well, was I've been running obviously workshops and events for longer than her. So I started it off. She did a segment in the middle, and then I finished it off. And what was so powerful about that was there was scaffolding. So it's almost like I forgot she was my mom for a while. It was just, here's a human being that's stepping out to share something that up until now she's really been sharing online. I'm going to say hiding behind the screen a little bit, but she just has this wealth of knowledge and way of helping people. And the reaction in the room was so powerful and so profound. And I think what really made it work was beforehand we talked about how did our themes fit together. So it actually felt like one workshop that was seamless. It didn't feel like two different presenters. So it was a lot of fun. And so now she's got people that want to know more about her services. I've got people that want to know more about my services. But more importantly, we've built a community where people just feel like, oh, you can actually do things together without this high level competition. So it was really interesting. It was really cool.
All right, so thank you for sharing that, because I knew you'd be game for it. It's not not too big of a
cool question.
So then, but I'll go down one more route, because there's also another pivot kind of with the family, because you and your partner were partners in the business, and now you're kind of saying, okay, what do we? So hey, how about the challenges when you're building a business where both partners are in the business together? So the impact of cash, when cash flow affects both of you at the same time, and maybe to share a little bit about what you've learned from that and kind of how you're moving towards something a bit different in the future, or just maybe something that you've learned. So when people are looking to be business partners and
life partners,
how do you kind of handle it? Because it can be a real challenge in the business.
It can be.
Yeah,
it can be. So I think for us, when we first started working together, because I'd already had the business for 2 years about at that point, Satya was doing sales for another company, doing ridiculous amounts of sales over there, but he was miserable. So he would always come help out at my workshops. I said, why don't you come on board? And so at the beginning, it was very exciting. It was like, hey, we get to do this stuff together. But just like any other business, or even if you were in a workplace somewhere, you've got different personalities. And I think the biggest thing that there's going to be two things that really saved us from completely self-imploding. One was we are very, very heavily involved in personal development, both of us. And so when I was actually first starting, Satya was one of my first students. My very first workshop that I ran, that was a 7-day workshop. He was one of the first clients in it. And so the fact that we are both so committed to learning and growing is probably our first saving grace, because he'll know, for example, when I'm feeling really agitated about something, just to give me a little bit of space. Or on the flip side, when it's an aspect of myself that I haven't seen yet, he'll be like, which part of you am I talking to right now? That does not sound like normal, powerful Andrea. That sounds like it's your inner kid coming out to play. So that's one thing that I think has made a huge impact. And because of that, just simple techniques we're able to run with each other. So on that note, the second saving grace is working with somebody else that's a mentor outside of us. Because when we've got patterns that are, let's say, affecting money or how we're communicating to one another, we don't always see what we're mirroring back at each other. And I think that was probably one of the best decisions we made recently, was to both be working with the same person, not to be working with different coaches and different people. And so that would be something I would definitely say. If you're in business with your partner as a couple, be committed to growing, be open to being supportive of one another instead of bashing yourselves over the head when one of you is a little stuck. And find somebody that you're comfortable with, that you can share the ups and the downs with them, that is going to help you grow instead of judging you.
Fantastic. No, thank you so much for sharing it, because I know, like we said, we want this episode was sharing a little bit what's changing and also what you've learned. And like I said, it's nice to see kind of the little bit on the inside of how your business is coming and shifting, and it really is. And I think what people really should understand is that to be open to kind of going down the path, like as entrepreneurs, we have a vision of where we want to go, but there's no exact steps to say at year 3 you're going to maybe not, you're maybe going to do like a little side shuffle in year 3, and that is okay, because what comes out of it is going to could actually mean like exponential growth.
Yep.
As opposed to just trying to force it to say, no, we 2 years ago we said we're going to do this and we're going to force it, and just that's when it breaks.
I think willing to be able to laugh a little along the way. Like when you do feel stuck, I'm very fortunate with Satya, is if I'm feeling really like, my head's just up to here with too many unknowns have hit me all at once and I'm just feeling frazzled, he's like, come on, get up, let's dance it off. And he'll put some silly music on. I mean, he'll wave his arms around like a monkey. It's so funny, but it gets me laughing. And as soon as I'm laughing, it shifts the energy. And you look at something as simple like that, who's talking about that? Like, it's okay to laugh to get the energy moving so that you get back into a flow state. And I think that's so important. If you're so serious all the time, it's really challenging to go through the ups and the downs. You've got to have fun along the way as well.
All right, and then let's this will be my last one for this episode. We'll have you back again, because I want to hear what's going to go on and what's going to be going on in the future. The importance of just taking some time out. So even when, not the things were tight, but even when you're we're in the middle of this, but you guys took 2-3 days and kind of got out of town and
yeah, we did.
And did your some of your strategic planning, your review from last year. The importance just to kind of get out of the business and spend some time together. How powerful was that?
That was probably one of the smartest things we've done. There's something about when you're outside of your regular environment, you create space for new ideas to come in. I mean, if you're looking at the same 4 walls all the time, there is not much room for inspiration or creativity. And being able to say, hey, we're going to do our strategic planning regardless. Why don't we go to Niagara Falls and do it? Let's hop in the car. I mean, it's really close to Toronto. We got to see the falls frozen, which doesn't happen that often. It just injects that extra creativity, that passion. And again, because Satya and I are also life partners, we got to have some fun too. And I think that was so important. So I'm definitely all for get out of your regular comfort zone, go do things, because that's when the creativity pops. You're gonna do it anyway. So why not go do it in a fun way?
Wonderful. And then, again, people, you use a little bit of social media. People see that you're actually doing that for yourself, for your business, and it just gives you that much more respect with your clients to say, wow, she's telling us to do that, and look, wow, she's actually doing it for herself.
Oh my goodness, imagine that.
Eating her own cooking. And we talked about cooking is an art, not a science.
That's true.
Wonderful. I want to thank you so much for stopping by the Comm Cafe today. It's been a lot of fun. Now, where can, I know you're redoing the website a little bit, but where can people learn a little bit more about what's new and exciting with?
They can still definitely go to the website. It's www.andreaivanka.com. Also, you can find me on Facebook, Andrea Ivanka. I'm really good at answering Facebook messages. I mean, it's one of those things about being social. then let's be social. Let's get to know one another and let's have conversations.
Wonderful. And that's the thing. Like, so people say, like, sometimes they're struggling. It's like, how do I get more people? And it's like, well, make yourself easy to find and easy to engage with. So I want to thank you so much. And
thank you.
If the listener, if you have a question, either reach out to me, ask me, and I can connect you with Andrea, or just, like I said, just engage right away. And I want to thank you and the listener for joining us today. And if you liked it, don't forget to like and share off of iTunes or here on Facebook as well. And just, if you think someone could benefit from hearing from Andrea, guess what? Introducing people to friends is the best way of helping out as well. You don't have to be a client in order to make a referral.
No. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, looking forward to attending one of your workshops in 2018. And
we've got some coming up. It'll be great. And I want to thank you again. What you're doing with this Comm Cafe is just awesome. So keep it up.
Yeah, it's fun. So if it's fun, it's not work, as they say.
That's right.
All right. Thank you for stopping by, and stay tuned.
Thank you for listening to the Comm Cafe today. As a special bonus for hanging in to the end, hop over to communicationsforresults.ca/bonus, and I have a special offer for you. This episode was actually recorded in the month of February, and as you know, February, March, tax season. Yes, I know everyone's favorite time of year. Tax season is either individuals or small business owners. Everyone loves to do taxes. I have a couple special bonuses. One is a link to take my course on Udemy on how to save money on your taxes. The second is as a certified FreshBooks accountant. You can click on that link, and if you're considering using FreshBooks to get your invoicing and expenses organized as a small business owner, solopreneur, FreshBooks is a great solution. Click on that link and save yourself 25% per year by clicking on the link for FreshBooks. Those are two bonuses for you today as a thank you for stopping by and listening to the Comm Cafe. Have a fantastic day. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Comm Cafe.